Fantasy Network. Look at this. There's 4 of us for this live stream. We've got a Rotowire Online Championship, $250,000 grand prize. And Nelson Sousa is in this one. He's got pick 2. So we're going to live stream this with Nelson. We've got Billy Wasosky, Hall of Famer Billy Wasosky. He's got no skin in this game, but he's got a lot of comments. Right, Billy? You're going to give it to these guys tonight.
Oh, yeah. It should be fun. I'm looking forward to this.
You're the Dandy Don of this booth. Tom, you're the Howard Cosell. Is that okay?
No, that's not okay, but we'll make it work for the next hour or so.
Be real opinionated. You're the Howard Cosell of this one, all right?
Is that how? Okay, well, yeah, okay, we'll make that work.
Nelson, you're good looking, so you're Frank Gifford, okay?
I'll take it.
See, he likes that one. All right, Nelson, what are you seeing? You're doing a whole bunch of them, online championships. What are you seeing? You're doing noon ones, 11:55s. They're all pretty wild right now, aren't they?
They are. Sometimes you get into the cookie cutter ones that are kind of boring, but lately I can't get enough of it. It's just the drafts are wild. There's just some picks that are all over the place, and it makes for a fun draft.
Yeah, definitely. Billy, you've been doing a lot as well. They're very interesting, right? No 2 are the same, and you can do 11:55, you can do a 10 o'clock. Totally different sometimes, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like Nelson said, you get the cookie cutter ones. They're very, you just go with the flow on those. But some of the ones that take a life of their own, those are the fun. Those are the fun ones. Certain players fall right to you and everything else. So we'll see what tonight has in store for us.
All right, Tom, he's got the second pick, Nelson does. Are you going to try to talk him out of taking one player or not?
No, I'm not. I want his justification as to why he's going to take the player that I think he's going to take, assuming, the guy goes number 1 that we think is going to go number 1. So I want to hear the justification, because I do have a ton of respect for Nelson, obviously. He's obviously one of the best players in the industry, one of the best players in the NFFC. So he's got to sell me on this guy, because this guy is someone I've been quite adamant against in the first round for months. And I know Nelson's big on him. I don't know if Billy is. We could certainly get Billy's comments as well. Billy, a Hall of Famer, a great player as well. So I want the justification as to if this is what ends up happening. I want the justification.
Okay. We'll see if it plays out that way.
Boy, sure, putting a lot of pressure on. That's what Howard Cosell used to do. He used to put a lot of pressure on the people he was interviewing. So I think
how the hell did I get Howard Cosell out of this?
You came right out of the gate.
Better than Nelson. OJ, I guess.
He wasn't in the first booth there. So, all right. So here we go. Team 1 is on the clock. We normally see Jonathan Taylor. I'm not saying we'll see Jonathan Taylor, but if he does, then the draft starts in Team 2, usually, right, Nelson?
Yes, sir.
All right. So 12 teams, 20 rounds, $250,000 grand prize, $350 entry fee. We pay the top 2 in each league, $1,500 for first, $700 for second. There you go. Justin Jefferson goes first.
It's a curveball. All right.
Oh, a second curveball.
Nelson stuck to his guns. All right, Nelson.
We get to talk about it.
Time.
Yep, we get to talk about it. Go ahead.
So my justification on it is that McCaffrey's already shown us for twice that when he's healthy, that he's the number 1 fantasy player in all of football. And I don't worry about the whole injury thing, because they're soft tissue injuries. They're not these, long-term wear and tear type of injuries. That stuff just doesn't worry me. I look at it as, if you're not willing to, take risks, especially in a tournament format like this is the online championship. It's not a confined league. So that also factors in for me. And I think you got to take upside. You got to take guys that could potentially be difference makers on your team.
Yep. So don't argue with that. I mean, again, you can't be scared off on McCaffrey. Like you said, hamstring injury, was angry. Certainly he can get injured just as easily as Taylor can get injured. But Taylor has proven that he can play 16 games. Certainly at Wisconsin, he was durable as hell as well. So, all right, 4 out of the first 6 picks are wide receivers here. Tom, thoughts on that?
Well, obviously, CD Lamb jumping way up to 6. That's not the norm. The first 5 are pretty commonplace, but yeah, CD Lamb right now is a big surprise in round 1.
Yeah. You've taken Jefferson number 1 overall as well, haven't you, Nelson?
I have, just to change it up because, again, even though I have McCaffrey as my number 1, I have taken Taylor in the 1, and I've taken Jefferson just to have different exposure to guys and different builds.
Yeah, definitely. So, Billy, we were talking on the podcast just before this that the back end shapes up pretty nice sometimes. And we were talking about some of the combinations you can get. Here we are again now with teams 10, 11, and 12 having some combinations. They could start out running back, or running back, stud, wide receiver, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's it's generally the 6 receivers go in the first round or around the turn. It depends what kind of draft you're in. But if you have to start 2 running backs from the back, you can definitely make it work just the way the draft flows in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th.
Right. And again, this is 3rd round reversal. So we go 1 to 12 in round 1, 12 to 1 in round 2, then 12 to 1 in round 3. So it really does balance out every draft pick. I mean, we have the history of showing you, especially in the 12-teamer, the league champions come from all different spots, 1 through 12 here. So, all right, Barkley at 10. Tom, are we seeing Barkley going more in the 1st round here or not?
Yeah, I mean, it's actually he's falling into the 2nd a little more often lately. I mean, today Nelson was in one of our drafts where he went 17th overall,
Right.
which was a shock. That's probably about as low as he's gone in the last couple of weeks. But I do think, and I think Billy, I think would probably agree. I think Nelson would agree. As we get closer to our live events in Vegas and New York, I think he's going to be a 1st-round fixture. I really do. I mean, all the reports coming out of camp have been so positive about him. I think 1st round is where he's going to end up in our prime times, our big money events, and certainly the OCs.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Nelson.
Yeah, my prediction is that Barkley is going to move up only because there's not many starters that are going to be playing in the preseason on teams, or they're going to have limited action. But it seems like Brian Daboll is fixated on trying to get that offense jump started and make sure that they're hitting on all cylinders come week 1. So he's going to be playing in the preseason with the starters. So he's got an opportunity. It's just, he's on national television or highlights. He's got an opportunity to, rip a 30-yard or 40-yard touchdown run. And that's all it's going to take to move him up.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Look at the end. Round 1 here, Barkley, Swift, and Cook. Team 12 starts with Cook and Henry. Those are 2 guys that usually go in the 1st round, so a nice little start there for Team 12. Billy, are you on Barkley at all, and do you think he will be a 1st-rounder when we get to the live events?
Oh, he's absolutely a 1st-rounder. There's no question about it. I mean, he's truthfully, on my board, he's 3 because looking at the guys, looking at the guys that are there, Eckler and Harris. I'm not a big Harris fan this year. Eckler's Eckler, and he's going to be solid. But Barkley just has a ton of upside. I don't think it would shock anybody if Barkley ended up as the number 1 running back. I mean, it's possible. It's in the range of outcomes if everything went right. So I definitely think he's worth the swing in the 1st round for sure.
Harris wins you $200,000 in the title, and you're off him this year.
Hey, come on, Nelson. I think Nelson will agree with me here. You can't. This is a year-to-year thing. You can't be married to these guys.
You cannot have an emotional attachment to play.
When they lead you to $200,000, you can have an emotional attachment. You know how attached I would be if I had somebody lead me to $200,000?
That's $200,000 worth of emotional attachment.
Listen, Levy. So I've won a main event too, and Le'Veon Bell, David Johnson, and LaShawn McCoy will always have a special place in my heart. But it's one of those things, the following year, if you don't think the stars are aligning for those players, you don't take them.
Boy, I'm so different from you guys. I would love.
You guys have been drafting Packers your entire life.
That's right.
You and Tom,
we draft with our heart, man. Draft with our heart. Tom, Kamara at 15.
You aren't reading my Twitter. Other than Aaron Jones, there's not a Packer I want this year.
Yeah, you're going to be wrong, too. Kamara at 15. Thoughts on... Oh, there's Aaron Jones at 18. So Kamara and Jones. What do you think there?
I love the Barkley Kamara start for Team 10. I think that's a
Yeah.
great combo if you're going with two running backs. I mean,
that's a nice run start.
I've been pretty adamant about my thoughts about Kamara for a long time.
Yeah, Barkley Kamara, that's rolling the dice, but boy, the upside there, right? Two guys that could be top 3 backs for sure in the same lineup there. So
And Eckler Jones, that's a nice combo as well.
yeah, that's what I was going to talk about them as well. You know, Jones, again, I'll say it again. I think he's going to be their leading receiver this year. And there was talk even this week where he made this nice catch on Monday and they gave him a standing ovation, or all the players came up to him. I think they're going to swing him out of the backfield, man. I hope he does what you and I are thinking about, Tom, because that passing game needs some help, and Jones could be the answer, to be truthful.
Again, we were talking about this. We were talking about this at the Brewers game yesterday with Matt Davis, but look at the numbers that Jones puts up when Devontae Adams has been out of the lineup. If they commit to that on a consistent basis, he could blow up in a big way.
I don't remember a whole lot of that conversation. We had a lot of spotted cows and IPAs and a whole lot of other stuff. Billy, Javonte Williams at 19. Thoughts on him, and where will he go, you think, when we get to live events?
Believe it or not, I'm still kind of torn on him.
Yeah.
I value the upside. I understand what can happen if Melvin Gordon got hurt, isn't involved as much, but it's just there's still the potential for a timeshare there in the second round. And you look at all the other players, the running backs that have gone, they're pretty much the only show in town for the most part. Jones and Dillon, I guess you could make that argument. But the rest of them pretty much have the backfield to themselves. So Williams is kind of, for me, he's a guy late in the draft, like where Nelson was picking. If he would have fell there, I would have considered him. But kind of in the middle, I'm not as, there's always somebody better that I want there.
Yeah, interesting for sure. Yeah, you mentioned Jones and Dillon. There is share there, but they're both going to be in the backfield, I think. I think they're going with a lot of 2 running back sets this year. Even 2 tight ends they may go this year. So that's going to be an interesting offense. Nelson starts out McCaffrey and Tyreek Hill. Thoughts on Tyreek Hill there, Nelson?
That's just diversifying, because I'm actually very light on Tyreek this year. I always worry about wide receivers changing teams in the first year and how they're going to do. So there's just so many of them that have changed teams, and they're all elite wide receivers. So I doubt, all of them are going to be, terrible. There's going to be some, Adams, and, you got Tyreek, you got AJ Brown. There's just so many of them that I can't just fade them. I can't just ignore them, because they are the elite of the elite wide receivers.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Going to a new team isn't his problem. It's the quarterback that he's catching passes from that we all are worried about such. So here's 3rd round reversal, just for people who haven't watched NFFC drafts before. Our feeling is the last thing Team 1 needs is the first pick in round 3. He's already got the head start there with the first pick. So we reverse round 3, and now it's serpentine all the way through. And we've been doing this since 2007. LaDainian Tomlinson forced us into this when we were doing 14-team drafts. We were talking about it earlier, Billy, right? KDS and 3RR works real well in the 12-team. You won from the 14th spot in our very first year in the Classic, but I think you might have been the only one who won a league title from the 14th spot in the Classic. But talk about your thoughts on 3rd round reversal.
Oh, it's fantastic. Combine it with KDS, I don't think there's anything better. I think that's just it's just great. You have a say in where you want to pick and everything. And, it gives you a chance of, draft from the back, draft from the front, from the middle, whatever you want to do. So, it just gives you a lot more variety and diversity.
Nelson, you're doing a lot of drafts. Are you setting KDS or where you're getting?
I am setting KDS. So just on a daily basis, depending, I always look at the player shares. So I think that's an awesome software that you guys have. And it gives me an idea of, what guys I'm kind of low on that I need to up their percentage, and guys that maybe I've got a little bit too much ownership on, and I got to cut back a little bit and not avoid them, but just pass them by and find another guy.
Yeah. So Josh Allen goes here in round 3, pick 28. Tom, he has dropped his ADP, I think, is like 33 or 34, and he's dropped in the 4th round. Sometimes we don't see a quarterback in the first 3 rounds, right?
Yeah, I think that's to me that's going to be the interesting test when we get to our live events. What we were seeing in the online is quarterbacks falling further than we've ever seen them. So to me, the question, and our first prime time is actually this coming Saturday. Once we get to the prime times, is that going to happen in the prime time, or are people going to push quarterbacks up higher? Like Josh Allen, is he going to go in the 3rd? And then the next tier of guys, Herbert, Mahomes, they're going to go higher. Or are we going to keep seeing these guys falling further than we've ever seen them before? To me, that's the big question for the prime time. But definitely in the OCs, they typically are falling further than we've ever seen them fall in years past.
Yeah, what do you think, Billy? Do you think they will fall or rise, the quarterbacks? I would predict they'd almost fall because we have so many veterans at the live events, and they all kind of play chicken on those top quarterbacks.
Yeah, I think they're going to fall as well. I mean, obviously, Team 9, I think, did that because of the Diggs. You know, his Diggs, he's going for the stack there.
Got the hookup. Yep.
I mean, the thing is, I've seen Diggs. I'm sure Nelson has too. Excuse me, not Diggs. Allen fall to 4-9 plenty of times in many drafts.
Mm-hmm.
I personally would have gambled and just see if he came back. No, if I don't get him, I don't get him.
Right.
But you gamble. I mean, I get it. You want that stack because it's it's a dangerous thing for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think they're going to go a little bit later in the prime times. Every draft is different. You're going to have some drafts their quarterbacks get pushed up, some get pushed back, some go where they're supposed to. So that's what makes it fun.
Yeah, definitely. All right, Nelson, you're going with the wide receivers here. It seems like you've been a modified running back strategy this year where you like to get that one running back and then you hammer the wide receivers. Is that correct?
That's definitely my preferred strategy in style of drafting. I did it a lot more, though, last year. This year, I'm actually comfortable going 2 running backs. And I've even earlier today in a draft, I started 3 straight running backs.
Mm-hmm.
So if the right guys fall, I'm comfortable doing that this year. But definitely, like, my preferred style is first or second round, find that one running back that you can count on, and then I just usually that's typical of my draft board is I rattle off 4 or 5 wide receivers, try to grab an edge at tight end or quarterback.
Yeah, we had a little fun with Matty Davis last night because I was watching that live stream that you partnered with him on that team, and you took that 8th wide receiver in the 11th round, and I think he almost lost it. It's like, I don't know if we need one more wide receiver. Like, no, this guy's a great value here. It was good entertainment there. Etienne going 33, I believe that is. Billy, what's your thoughts on Etienne when we get to the live events? He's the wild card in these first 3 rounds, it seems like.
I don't think he'll be the wild card in live events. I think he'll be entrenched in the second round as long as he does some, if he shows even just a little bit in the preseason, he's going to be entrenched in the second round. He will not get to the third. People will be taking him at the end of the second, even mid-second possibly, depending on, what their needs are.
Yeah, I think that was your 3rd running back this afternoon, Nelson, where you got Etienne in the 3rd round.
I got him at 311, which, for the last 2 weeks, doing drafts, 1, 2, 3 a day, I haven't seen that in a long time. So I was actually surprised where when I got on the clock, I quickly just, Googled him and went on Twitter just to make sure there was no type of injury or something in practice.
Yeah. He looked good, Tom. I mean, just a small amount in the first preseason game, he sure looks electric.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think, these guys were saying that's a team that we're probably going to see the starters play, at least the next couple of weeks. So we're going to get a good chance to see him play. And like Nelson was talking about with Barkley, same thing with Etienne. He busts off a couple of big runs. All of a sudden, he's going to move up. He's going to be a top 20 guy, probably, like Billy said. So he's definitely a guy who can make a name for himself in the preseason now.
Yeah, if you remember, I want to say the year that McCaffrey broke out, it was his second year. It was after his rookie year. But people were just kind of lukewarm on him. I want to say he was like a 3rd round pick in NFFC, and there wasn't too much excitement. And then in one preseason game, I think he broke off like a 40-yard run, or it might have been a pass and catch, and that did it. That's skyrocketed his ADP, and he was going like in the second round, and I want to say like in the New York Super, I ended up taking him like 5th overall, which was way past his ADP, and I don't know if that was more of me trying to do the whole shock factor thing, but I definitely believed in him. So, and I knew he wasn't coming back to me at that point, so I just figured I might as well take him and see if he's the guy.
Yeah, definitely.
I remember Chris Johnson's rookie year with the Titans. He busted off a 90-yard touchdown run against the Rams. I'd never seen a guy hit the hole that fast, and I knew it was preseason. He was playing against backups, but I was like, I'm jumping this guy's ADP in every draft I'm in from now on. I'd never seen a guy that fast on a football field before. And he split time with Lendale White that year, but he was still terrific as a rookie. I mean, I'll never forget that touchdown run. It was like he was shot out of a cannon.
Yep.
Kamara did that his rookie year too in the preseason game. I think it was against the Rams, the third game. He caught a pass and took it 55 yards to the touchdown. I was like, who is this guy? He is electric.
Yeah.
Hey, let's talk, Tom, about the builds right now. Just looking at the first 2 rounds, there were only 2 teams that went running back. No, 3 teams that went running back, and 2 teams that went wide receiver. Team 5 starting out with 5 or 4 wide receivers right there. A lot of running back, wide receiver, running back, tight end in those first 2 rounds.
Yeah, and like Nelson was saying, no 3 running back starts in a row, which we have seen more and more often. I haven't seen as much of that in the past, seeing much more of it this year than we've ever seen, but none of it in this draft. But yeah, a lot of this one looks a little more normal, a little more typical than we're normally seeing. There always seems to be in the OCs, at least the ones I'm watching, at least one team that goes, with like 4 or 5 wide receivers out of the gate. And like you said, team 5 here doing it with 4 really good wide receivers, so you can't question the start there. But I do like the builds, for teams 2 and 3. Nelson, of course, being team 2. You get that stud running back, and then you hammer the wide receivers. I love that build. That, to me, the modified running back approach, whatever you want to call it, I think that's a great way to go. Team 11 doing the same thing after taking DeAndre Swift.
Yeah, Team 7 was one who started out maybe not with 3 running backs, but 3 running backs and a tight end there. And then he takes Michael Thomas here in the 5th round. Billy, just quick thoughts on these last 2 picks that we had here was Michael Thomas and Dobbins. Tom and I have been talking about Dobbins. We had Pro Football Doc on our podcast or on our radio show about 4 weeks ago, and he didn't think he'd be ready for week 1. Do those 2 guys scare you at all with the past injuries?
Dobbins scares me a little bit. Thomas has looked good so far in camp, so he's starting to look a little better. So he's starting to rise a little bit. Team 7 definitely needed to get a wide receiver there. There's no question about it. Both those guys. You're getting to this is where the middle of the 5th round is where you start getting into the zone where there's a drop off. There's a drop off in the tier, and you just have to start like people are doing right now. They're going to the tight ends, they're going to the quarterbacks, that kind of thing. So they got the last guys. Breece Hall's the one who's interesting. I know with Breece Hall, with the obviously with Zach Wilson going down and everything, it's not going to be permanent, of course, but he's fallen because he was going in the 3rd round in a couple drafts early on, and pretty much solid in the 4th. Now he's fallen to the 5th. So, we'll see. We'll see what happens with him.
I think that's interesting, Billy, with Breece Hall, because I don't quite know why he's dropping. Is it because of the Zach Wilson injury? They just think that now with Flacco at quarterback that it's just a shit show and they're not going to be able to move the ball?
I think that's part of it, but I also think the Becton injury plays into it a little bit too, which, I don't know, I'm not sure how many people were really relying on him, but I think that might factor a little bit into it as well. But yeah, he's definitely fallen a little bit for sure. And I think in the 5th, I think he's a good get. I think if it works into how you're building, I think it works well.
Yeah, they signed Orlando Brown though, I think, to replace him. So they did.
Or Dwayne Brown, wasn't it? Dwayne Brown?
Or Dwayne Brown, right. So, but yeah, Tom, we had talked Hall on our show, right? He was going in the 3rd round. We were like, is this a guy who could go end the 2nd round by the time we get to live events? Here he is in the 5th round.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think at that point it's worth a gamble. To me, the concern here is, and I don't hype this guy up. I'm not saying he's a great running back because he's not, but I just don't think Michael Carter's going away. I think they want to use Michael Carter in the backfield. They want him to have a role, and I think that's going to prevent Breece Hall from having the the kind of volume that we want him to have. I hated that landing spot for him from a fantasy perspective. Now the Jets, it's a great spot for the Jets because they need talent, but for fantasy, that's not the spot I wanted him to end up at.
I tend to agree with Tom actually on that because I don't think Carter is a bad running back. I actually think he's pretty talented. So I could envision it, especially at the beginning of the year, where they have sort of a committee approach and is just driving fantasy owners nuts. The ones that drafted Breece Hall in the 4th round, 5th round. It could separate. They could separate themselves a little bit towards the end of the year because Breece obviously higher draft capital, much more talented than Michael Carter. But I agree with Tom that I think beginning of the year you could see that.
Yeah, definitely. So Nelson, let's talk about Mahomes in the 6th round here. Billy and I were just talking on the podcast. You said he fell to you like at 5'11" one time. Of course you're going to take him there because, I mean, you've got a guy who could be the number 1 quarterback at the end of the year, and he's fallen that far. Here, this draft, these guys fell. Herbert went in the 5th round. Mahomes goes at 6'2". I'm sure you're just thinking, I can't pass it up, right?
Yeah, I mean, I got to. Listen. I like all those quarterbacks. Any quarterback that I think in the range of outcomes could be the QB1. I'm going to be interested in acquiring them. Especially in a shootout format where you're trying to score the most points at the end of the season for 3 weeks. Billy knows, firsthand with Joe Burrow, what a difference maker he was. So Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Kyler, Josh Allen, all those guys are capable of putting up these monster numbers in that 3-week shootout and be the difference maker. So I want to mix those guys in for sure.
Yeah. So I asked Billy this before, but do you try to stack quarterback wide receiver combinations, Nelson, or not?
I do. I don't go out of my way to do it, but I definitely do it.
Yeah. And Billy, you say you don't go out of your way as well, right?
Correct. And one thing I want to ask, because I think if I saw this correctly, I was busy at work today, but I glanced at the board real quick. Did I see Kyler go in the 10th round this afternoon?
Yeah, it was gross.
Really?
Yeah, I saw that. I thought it was like an error. I'm like, what the hell? What's going on here? I had to look at, like Nelson, I had to look at, did he get hurt? Did something happen? And I missed something?
So it was crazy. So I ended up I want to say I was in the 2-hole, and I started McCaffrey in the draft earlier today. And I forget the rest of the team, but I just remember that at the 5-6 turn, Lamar Jackson was there, and I passed him. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna go wide receiver here, and I passed him. He came all the way back to me at 7-11. So I took him naturally because, his ADP is fixated in the 6th round. He goes somewhere in the middle of the 6th round, early 6th round. So I take him, and then I proceed to watch, Kyler fall for like rounds. And like, I'm not one of those guys that will sit there and get all frustrated like, damn it, like Kyler hasn't gone yet. I'm taking him even though I've got my number 1 QB. I just let it go, but I was just shaking my head. I didn't get it.
Would you have taken Murray just to piss everybody off, Billy, or not?
I mean, in the 10th, I think I would have.
Just
to have security. Maybe it depends, again, what was there. But this draft seems to be like a little bit of a quarterback draft. They're going kind of earlier. You already got, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 off the board. And there's some Nelson's been in a bunch too. I know 9th round you get the 6th quarterback off the board, so it all depends.
Yep. Yeah, interesting. So I'm not seeing a whole lot of quarterback stacks here. I do see the Allen Diggs We got Mahomes and Hill, but unfortunately Hill's not with him anymore. Nelson, that would be a nice hook up there if you had him.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I don't really see a whole
Allen.
lot. The guy who had Chase did not wait for Burrow. He took Herbert there. So Dak
Team
and CD,
5.
there you got one, right? What'd you say, Tom?
Team 5's got Herbert and Keenan.
Okay, Herbert and Keenan. Then Team 6 has now got Dak and Lamb. So
Yeah.
And 8 has
waited
Kyler and Marquise Brown.
And Team 7's got Lamar and Mark Andrews.
all right.
there we
So
go.
there we do have
You're
hookups.
Everybody's
You're
stacking.
stacking.
Everybody's stacking. Nelson didn't know that Tyreek got traded. He thought he was stacking there.
I thought that's what I thought I was doing.
He might go back, although I don't
All
think
right,
so. He's been saying Tua's got a better arm than Mahomes, so I don't think he's going back anymore.
Yeah, there's no going back. There's no going back from that.
No. Mahomes won't win them. What were you going to say, Tom?
I just want to ask you guys about Kadarius Toney, because obviously he was moving up boards and he still is as he goes right there. But of course now he's hurt again because he's Kadarius Toney and he's always hurt. I mean, what are we doing with this guy right now?
He's falling. There's no question he's starting to fall a little bit based on some things. I was listening to a beat writer talk about him. He used the word very fragile. Not what you want to hear when it comes to a football player. But he's talented as hell. I mean, you saw it in the Dallas game. I mean, he was just destroying them. So I understand the hype for sure. In the 7th round, I'm definitely a buyer for sure on him. I know he's been going in the 6th a lot, but 7th round, he's worth the play, especially if you have the right guys around him.
Yep. What about Ayuk? I mean, he's a guy, I know, Tom, you can talk about it as well. Guy who went ahead of Debo last year, and now he's looking good in camp, and hopefully he's out of Shanahan's doghouse. Anybody high on Ayuk?
I mean, I like him, but when I look back at it, and if you just take a step back, it's a run-heavy team. Trey Lance is going to be running the ball. You got Debo and Kittle there. There's a lot of mouths to feed.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to be one of those things where Brandon Ayuk is probably better as like a best ball type player rather than in redraft, because I don't think you're going to be able to like get it right when he has his big weeks.
Yeah. Okay.
I agree 100% with Nelson. I mean, the thing is, how many yards is Trey Lance going to throw for this year? And like you said, there's 3 guys there. They can't all have great seasons. Somebody's got to be, underperform. So I don't mind him either. It depends where he is, and it depends if he falls, I will take him, but I'm not going to reach for him by any stretch. Yeah,
John Spurlock said this is the no RBs draft. So 13 out of the first 21 picks were running backs. Now there's 13 running backs after that. We're in round 8 already. 13 out of 21, and then I don't know how many that is after that, but we're in round 9. We only got 13 other ones after that. So get your bell cow backs, and then after that, fill in, it looks like. All right, we'll wait for Nelson here. You took Pollard with your previous pick. He is on the clock right now. We'll let him talk about his 2 picks here.
There's Damian Pierce moving up after that big preseason opener for the Texans.
Yeah, I was interested in where he was going to go. Man, he looked good.
Yeah, he did. And that was John McClain telling us all about him about a month or so ago. On our
about 4 weeks ago when we had him on, he said he's going to win it.
Yep.
Nelson, thoughts on your Pollard and Edmonds there?
There was no wide receivers that I felt were great value there. So I'm going to push my 5th and 6th to a little later in the draft. So I wanted to go ahead and get my RB2 out of the way. And sometimes I like doing that where I take 2 guys that I think have high upside in the offenses that they're in. So that's why I went Pollard and Edmonds. Did
you consider Mitchell, who went right after you there at all, or not?
No, he's actually one of my fade guys.
Really? Okay.
This year. It's one of my rules that anytime there's a waiver wire pickup type player the year prior, and he's going in the first few rounds, even though 8th round is actually not bad for him at all. I'm not a big believer in him. I think when they go and draft the rookie there, Terrion Davis-Price, and then they have Sermon still there and Jeff Wilson, I could see at any point in the season where they just turn to other guys or make it into a committee. Again, Trey Lance there, he could be taking away some touchdowns and some carries from Mitchell. Mitchell does not get used in the passing game. They'll probably use like Hasty or someone else there in the passing game. So I just think that like his upside is actually limited.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on Elijah Mitchell?
I kind of feel the same way. He's not
Really?
a guy I've been targeting at all. In fact, I think my only share of him is at 8-1. So very similar to where that pick was. He's just not a guy that excites me. It seems like every year, whoever starts the year is the number one back in San Fran never ends up the number one back in San Fran. It's just the way it works out. It's just too many, they do have some talented players there. And he was banged up a lot last year. He showed a lot of great spurts, but he was always nicked up as well. So, no, I think
Nelson, he's hurt now.
Yeah, and Nelson nailed the turn, in my opinion. He drafted the two right guys there. That's who I would have taken as well. I think both those guys are very high upside guys. They got a good opportunity this year. So,
yeah, Penny going in the 8th round as well. I'm interested there because now Kenneth Walker's hurt, right? And he might not actually start the season on the active roster in week 1. Doesn't look like he's going to be healthy. So that would make Penny. But who can say that Penny could stay healthy until then, right?
Yeah, you got to start firing up your Travis Homer shares because
yeah.
Right, Rashad Penny.
Rashad
Penny will be hurt in 2 days. So
yeah.
It's funny, the last few days over the weekend when people heard about Penny, nursing a hamstring injury, Walker moved up in drafts. Yeah. He definitely got a bump up. And then all of a sudden, I just read a report that Penny ripped off, a bit long gain in practice, looked good, Hammy's fine. And Walker now is, dealing with a groin. So it's just back and forth with those guys.
I think the
answer, know what you do? You just avoid all of them.
Yes, I was just going to say, I think the answer is avoid that backfield, right? Yeah. Tom, what are your thoughts?
No, I at this point, yes. I mean, they're both dealing with something, or they have been. Penny may be a little healthier right now. But yeah, if it's Travis Homer season, we're all in trouble.
Travis Homer season, my goodness. All right.
Seattle seems to have like the to me, I call it and this is I'm dating myself here, but I call it the Eric Rhett rule. You remember Eric Rhett on the
oh my God.
So
yeah,
they used to get down. Eric Rhett I thought he was a very good running back. But the problem is they'd be down 21-0 before you could blink, and they couldn't run the football. So he didn't get, and he didn't really catch back. Teams didn't really throw to the backs as much back then. So I think Seattle, although Pete Carroll's pretty stubborn, he'll try to run if he can. But I think Seattle's in for a rough season this year.
I think so too. I'm staying away from there. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to put them in the chat. We'll put them on the screen here. Thank everyone for joining us here tonight. Good group of people watching this one. George Pickens, very interesting there, going to Pittsburgh, leading off round 9. What did he catch it in practice? Was it where he made that nice toe
no,
tap?
It was
I guess
preseason.
Oh, it was preseason game. That's right. Okay. Are we all in on that then for one toe tap?
Not to jump like 5 or 6 rounds, but I liked him a lot better in like the 15th round. But
yeah, I think he's talented, and it's one of those situations where I don't know if the quarterback, whether it's Trubisky or Pickett or Rudolph, if they're going to be able to have support two guys in Deontay and Pickens. I think Pickens is good enough to supplant Claypool as the number 2. So that I believe. But the question then becomes, with the run game and everything, can Pickens get consistent enough targets in that offense? Can they move the ball where he's actually going to be startable? Or is he just a sexy guy that just stays on your bench? You never drop him, but you can never use him.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. There goes Kenneth Walker at 9-2 here. So not too far away from Penny. We'll have to see, I guess, about the news on what those guys do. But we were talking about the Seattle backfield here. So kind of interesting. Yeah. I mean, Packer Twitter was all lit up after the Pickens one. It was like, I can't believe we drafted Christian Watson instead of Pickens. And it's like Pickens isn't the type of guy the Packers would probably draft. They like the Watson's makeup, I think, a little bit better than Pickens. There's Lance going to team 8 there. Billy, he could be the guy that busts out this year, or he could be a guy who, like you say, doesn't even hit 3,000 yards or 20 passing touchdowns this year. What are your thoughts on him?
I mean, he's obviously talented, but for this team build right here, you got with Kyler Murray. I mean, when are you going to take the gamble?
Right.
If Kyler's hurt, when are you going to take the gamble playing Trey Lance?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, Trey Lance, he's got all the ability in the world. He's got a great arm. He's got 3 nice receivers. He can run the ball. So it all looks good on paper for sure.
Yeah, I don't think I would team him up with Murray, but that's the build that Team 8 is going right now. Used him as a QB2 there. That's the first one, obviously.
Well, and I think the problem there is he only has 2 wide receivers. So that's, in the NFFC, you got to start 3. So he's going to need another one soon. He's got 4 running backs. He's got a nice tight end, but he's going to definitely need a receiver soon.
Absolutely. On Team 8, I agree. Russell Wilson goes to Team 4. So everyone's kind of grabbing their quarterbacks. Team 1 doesn't have one yet. Team 3 doesn't have one yet. Team 10 doesn't have one yet. Otherwise, everybody else has one. Did the Wilson one get a hook up there at all or not? No, doesn't look like it.
No.
Nope.
All right. It's okay. You don't have to have it. Just for checking. That's all. Tom, what are your thoughts on Trey Lance? I know you love the long pass that he just flicked it and threw it down there, but
I agree with everything Billy said. I mean, it's certainly QB1 upside, no question about it. I'm not taking him ahead of Russell. So I love the pick for Team 4, waiting on QBs and getting Russ there. The concern in this particular draft, though, I don't like the pick. You've already got your stud in Kyler. There's really no reason to take a QB2 at this point. So it's not best ball. So when, like Billy said, outside of the bye week with Kyler, when are you playing Trey Lance in this lineup? I mean, you drafted Kyler Murray to play every week for this team except one. So when is Trey Lance playing? And there's no reason to draft Trey Lance to stop 11 other people, right? That shouldn't be your mindset. You should be trying to build your best team. So I don't like the pick.
Way to go, Howard Cosell.
What do you wanted me to do?
Nelson, this is more green than I expected. I thought I'd see more yellow stickers here.
Yeah, I don't know who this Team 2 is. I mean, it's taking a pause.
Yeah, this is a little different.
Okay, so Nelson, are you worried at all? I'm a big Miles Sanders guy. I'm a huge Miles Sanders guy. But here we go again with Miles. He's hurt again. Are you worried at all?
It's a good offense, great offensive line. The running backs there, I think Gainwell is talented, but like Boston Scott, there's not much depth behind him. So, I mean, if things break right, he could end up having a pretty good year for a good team. So that's kind of what I'm going off of. I do get worried a little bit that, he always seems to get banged up lately. So I don't know, but I still believe in the talent too.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes he gets banged up on a 75-yard run that he doesn't quite get in the end zone, and that's the end of him. He's done after that one, which is not good. But Kenneth Gainwell goes about 6 or 7 picks after him here in this one. So interesting. All right. So we're almost through round 10. We're in like 40 minutes we've got here. So for people that haven't done NFFC drafts, these things can get done in an hour and 15, hour 30. When we do our live event prime times, we'll take a 10-minute break, and we can still get done in an hour and 30, hour and 40. They're quick, so be ready, be on your toes, because they're fun, they're addictive, as Nelson will tell you, but they can be quick as well. So good stuff here. All right, so Team 1 took his quarterback, got Brady as his, and Team 3 took his, Derek Carr as his. So Team 10 right now is the only one without a quarterback. We got 12 quarterbacks drafted right now. We haven't talked too much about the tight ends here. Pitt's fallen to 4. He seems to go at the end of round 3 all the time, so fell a little bit here. Nelson, you don't have a tight end. How are you dealing with the tight ends this year? Do you take one of these early ones ever or not?
That was actually the consideration, was whether I was going to go Robinson or Pitts.
Uh-huh.
So that was my debate in my head, trying to figure that out. So for tight end, I usually avoid Kelsey and Andrews where they go. There's other wide receivers and running backs that I like in their range, but Pitts is definitely a guy that I'll take when he makes it in. He sneaks into the 4th round. Otherwise, I'm mixing in like Goddard's, Hawkinson, and some other, later tight ends.
Right.
So I usually push that position back.
Okay, sounds good. Billy, what do you do with the tight ends?
Pretty much the same thing. I don't have hardly any Kelsey, just too many good players where he's going. Andrews, I think where he went in this draft is okay, because I think that's kind of the teardrop off right after Higgins there. So I get it if you would have taken him there. Pitts in the 4th is solid. Any way you look at it, like Nelson said, he could have taken him there and he would have been fine, I'm sure. I've been avoiding the Waller Kittle zone for the most part. I got a lot of Schultz early on in the 7th, sometimes even the 8th. I like that, but he's definitely creeping up into the 5th and 6th round now. So that's tough. And once you get past those guys, it's just you're just hoping somebody falls to you. I got a Hawkinson at 9-2 the other day, and that was solid. But if you don't get Hawkinson or Goddard, or you're just waiting, you get a commit, or you're just gonna draft 2. Sometimes you shoot, sometimes even 3, and just try to hit lightning in a bottle.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so Team 10 finally takes his quarterback. It's Matthew Stafford. Tom, we had a beat writer on our show, SiriusXM show, last Wednesday. We asked him about the elbow. He said he wasn't concerned at all, that they were just kind of managing it, but he was whipping the ball that last Wednesday in practice. He felt you got any concerns on his elbow at all?
I don't at this point. I mean, if the Rams aren't worried, if McVay's not worried, I'm not worried. So to be able to get Matthew Stafford in the 10th round, especially after Derek Carr's off the board and Lance, I mean, I think that's a great pick. So well done by Team 10, waiting on QBs and getting Matthew Stafford in round 10.
Billy, you got any concerns on his elbow?
I mean, I'm kind of the same way as Tom. If the Rams are letting him practice right now every day, it can't be but so bad. That's the way I kind of look at it. I mean, I'm not going to lie. Anything you hear nowadays, it doesn't matter if it's good or bad. Everything you hear affects you a little bit. So,
yeah.
But at the same time, I'm still drafting Robinson and Kupp and those guys, and even Stafford in certain spots. So I'm not overly concerned about it.
All right, the Isaiah Pacheco sighting is at 11-1. Where's he been going, Tom, recently?
He's definitely moving up. I mean, he is. Yeah. He looks like he's going to be the number 2 running back there in Kansas City. And the important thing to note about the preseason opener is once the starters came out, he came out. That's a pretty huge sign about how important they view him right now. He didn't get any work really with the backup guys. When Mahomes and those guys came out, he came out. So Isaiah Pacheco, I think he's going to start moving up heavy. I mean, I want nothing to do with Edwards-Helaire at this point. I just think, they don't believe in Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I think it's pretty clear they don't believe in him. They've done everything they can to find somebody else to play in that backfield, whether it's, been Damian Williams or Jerick McKinnon at the end of last year, whoever it's been, they just found other guys. And now it's Isaiah Pacheco. They're going to use him in the passing game for sure.
Howard Cosell has buried Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Billy, what are your thoughts there?
I want to see a little bit more. I mean, the practices look great. His first game wasn't spectacular by any stretch. And Nelson Nelson knows this guy for sure. He's got a little Darwin Thompson to him right now with the hype. And I think Darwin reached 7th, 8th round at that year.
He did.
He kept climbing and climbing and climbing. He never amounted to anything. But Pacheco looks good. He really does. The fact that he went, was he a 6th rounder this year? 6th or 7th rounder?
So,
I mean,
he wins
yeah,
the
I don't-
seventh. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how he fell that far personally. I don't get it because I've heard of it. I remember, hearing about him when he was in college. So, Chiefs running back, we've been saying for years, should be, is generally considered gold for a long time. And then Edwards-Helaire got there and it kind of came to a screeching halt. But they've always plugged somebody in, McKinnon or whatever else. So,
Yeah.
I think what it is a lot of people get enticed by the fact that it's the Andy Reid Kansas City offense.
Yep.
So anytime someone flashes or emerges, they want a piece of that offense, and rightfully so. You want players from elite offenses, and I think that's what happens is the hype and just guys start chasing players up the board, and sometimes it gets out of control, and the guy ends up being a bust.
Yeah.
Tom, someone disagrees with you here.
Plenty of people do. That's fine. I got no problem with that. No, and
Yeah.
it's a fair point. It's a fair point about Edwards-Helaire and the gallbladder surgery. To me, though, it's about what we've seen on the field, right? And it's about usage. And they have not committed to him. Really, the first game he played, right? That game against the Texans when he looked fantastic, and we were all giddy. Look, the first round pick, running back, he looks great. We're all fired up. We took him in the first round. Look how smart we all are, and it hasn't been the same since that game. They haven't used him the same. They haven't committed to him in the passing game. They found other running backs to do the things that we thought they would do with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So we can all say whatever we want to say. Just watch how they use him. That tells you.
He got a lot of receptions in that first game, 5 or 6, but he couldn't get in from the goal line from like
Couldn't
the
score,
1 or
yeah.
2 yard line. He could not
But
get in.
he still put up like 20 plus points that
Yeah.
first game.
He had a lot of receptions that game. All right, what thoughts on Hollywood Brown? Nick Tuwami asks us. Billy, you go first. Thoughts on Hollywood Brown?
I mean, he's talented. He did well in Baltimore this last year. He's kind of like, he's a quiet. I don't know how many points he had, but he was quiet last year. But he had a really solid season. Moving to Kyler, a little bit more of a progressive offense out there in Arizona. I mean, he could be solid. I mean, the big key with him is how's he going to react when Hopkins comes back? Does he fall to the number 2? That's where I'd be a little bit concerned. But there's a lot to go around, and Arizona likes to throw the ball. So, he's definitely a solid pick in the 4th round.
Yeah. Nelson, you went with Cole Kmet as your tight end there now.
Yes,
Are
sir.
you looking at you upside there or streaming tight ends going? What's the thought?
Yeah, I mean, when I grab a Cole Kmet, I'm always grabbing a number 2 tight end also. But
Yeah.
I just think it's an offense that is going to have to throw the ball. I don't think the defense is very good. Justin Fields is going to have Mooney, but there's no clear number 2 option in that offense. And I don't know. I just don't think that he's going to go another season with. I think he had 0 touchdowns last year. So if he gets a half a dozen touchdowns, all of a sudden we're talking about him as like an easy top 10 tight end.
Yeah, definitely. We didn't talk about Team 5 enough. I mean, he is the 0 running back guy here. He didn't take a running back until round 8, it looks like. John says Brian Robinson is his first starting running back here. What do we got? Take a look again. Damian Harris in round 8, Nyheim Hines in round 9, Kenneth Gainwell in 10, and then Brian Robinson in round 11. Interesting. Billy, who's going to be the running back in Washington? Is Robinson going to be the guy or not?
I mean, Antonio Gibson's talented. He's a very talented. He was going the 2nd round last year. And
Heck yeah, first round
horrible,
sometimes last year.
Yeah, and he didn't have a horrible season. But everything you read, it's like, oh, McKissick's going to catch all the passes in the backfield, and Robinson's going to be the goal line back. Well, if that's the case, then what do you want Gibson for? But I'm still. I mean, I'm not a Gibson guy by any stretch. I got him. I have him in 1 draft. I got him at like 7-10 or something, which is really late, and I took a shot. But I'm not targeting Gibson. but I don't think he's dead. I think it's almost a situation you almost want to avoid if they're all healthy, because I think it's going to be a nightmare to figure out, each week who's going to be the score.
Yeah.
I agree.
Nelson ML says he likes your Mahomes stack, Sky Moore and MVS.
I got the cheap stack.
Yep. Well, the Sky Moore Mahomes combo could work though, and you got a chance to watch it for a couple weeks here before putting him in your starting lineup, possibly, right?
I got a feeling that Sky Moore is probably going to be involved in certain packages to begin the year, but he's not going to be that consistent guy out there, full snaps. So he's probably not going to be startable. That's going to be kind of a guy that you got to stash, and then hopefully, second half of the season he turns it on. MVS, I mean, I never cared for him in Green Bay, and I look at it as if he couldn't get it done with Rodgers, what really changes with Mahomes? I don't see that changing, but I just for the fact that I did have Mahomes, I wanted to go MVS and change it up, but he's not a guy that I'm really that I have high hopes for.
Yeah, you won't get any dissenting comment, I don't think, from me or Tom. He's a nice player, but he drops way too many, and basically all he can do is go deep. He doesn't run a whole lot of routes. Not that I've seen, Tom. Did you see any that he ran?
He's a rich man's Corey Bradford. You guys can Google Corey Bradford.
Oh, I know Corey Bradford. Yeah,
That's who he is.
I mean, $10 million for him. I think this Romeo Doubs is going to be as more valuable for the Packers than MVS could have been.
I've seen more out of Romeo Doubs in one training camp than I saw out of MVS his whole time in Green Bay.
Yeah, I agree. Although he does have the drops like MVS. He dropped one today in practice. And
so did Devontae as a rookie, if you remember.
Yeah. Oh, I definitely remember.
Yeah.
Trust me. I didn't like him at all the first 2 years.
No, he really struggled his rookie year.
Yeah, definitely. All right, here we are through round 12. I don't really know if there is anything that stands out. Again, Team 5 was the interesting build there. Team 8 was the interesting build with 2 quarterbacks. Team 10 backed up Stafford with Cousins. I mean, Cousins is that perfect quarterback too, isn't he? I mean, Tom, we talked about this on our show that, he's going like 13th. Sometimes he goes ahead of Rodgers, could be 12th quarterback. But my goodness, if you're going to wait on quarterbacks, you got Stafford with upside and Cousins. That's actually not a bad combination there, right?
I'm not crazy about doing this. I mean, if you're worried at all about Stafford, don't take him. Mm-hmm. I like Cousins as an upside QB too, but I mean, now you're streaming these guys, so you're going to be picking these guys every week, right? And to me, I just don't know if I'd want to be doing this. I mean, maybe Billy and Nelson disagree with me, and that'd be great. But to me, you're playing the QB by committee game with these two guys because you're not committing to either one of them right now because they're both upside guys right now, right? That's how I look at it.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel the same way, especially where he took them. And again, this is kind of a quarterback draft. The quarterbacks went a little earlier than a lot of drafts because, I've seen Stafford and Cousins go in like the 12th, 13th, 14th round. So taking 2 picks at 10, 11 is a little tight. I mean, this is a minor thing. I don't know if Nelson worries about this. I really don't, but they both have the same bye week as well. So, yeah, I mean, it's almost like they want Stafford, but they're hedging with Cousins type deal.
Yep. Especially the next round.
So to me, if you're that worried, don't take them.
Right.
Yeah, I'm of the belief that if you're going to take a quarterback in the top 10 rounds, unless like some guy just like a Kyler situation from earlier today, he falls and you're like, I'm getting a steal on him. I'm taking him in the 10th round. Like Billy said, even if he had Lamar Jackson already. Otherwise, I'm not really big on, kind of double tapping the quarterback and using 2 kind of valuable, picks that early. I'm looking for other positions at that point.
Yeah. All right, we didn't notice it, but Team 12 took the Cook brothers, took Delvin in round 1 and James in, 2, 4, 6, 8 in round 8. Billy, thoughts on James Cook? He's a guy who could catch some passes. He certainly is not going to get as many carries as Dalvin does. He's not quite as big as him, but he can catch some passes. Any upside there in Buffalo?
Oh, of course there's upside in Buffalo. I mean, it's Buffalo. So best offense in the league, arguably. And, the fact that, the thing that really stands out to me, there's two things is, how hard they pursued at JT McKissick in the offseason. And then, they moved up in the draft to get Cook. So, I mean, I think he could definitely be a factor. I don't think Singletary's out of the picture yet. They definitely seemed like they were a much more balanced team towards the end of the year when they started running the ball a lot more than they did at the beginning of the year. But this is definitely a passing team. It's Josh Allen's team. We know that. And James Cook's, he's just a guy you can get in a mismatch, get him on a linebacker or something, he'll just tear past him and, Josh will find him. So, yeah, it's definitely a lot of upside. A lot of people are very high on James Cook.
Mm-hmm. All right, Nelson, since you picked that tight end, you have to pronounce his last name.
Oh, I can't.
No, you have to. If you draft him, you have to. You're at the live event and you got to announce this
pause
pick.
the draft. Take him off the board.
Okwuegbunam.
I have no idea if that's right or not. Tom and I just call him Albert O on the show.
I don't know how to pronounce it, but I know that's not right.
Yeah.
How do you know?
Because I've heard other people pronounce it. I can't remember it, but I know that's not right.
I can't.
Oh, Howard, you're criticizing even the way he pronounces.
You know how long it took me to learn how to pronounce Giannis's last name?
I know, but you got
years.
Tua. You got Tua's last name down. I've noticed on the radio.
I got Tua's name. I finally got that one right last year.
Yeah, you're like really proud of it because you say his last name a lot.
I am. I actually want Tua in our shows more and more often because I know how to pronounce his name now.
Yeah, I'm not touching it. Good for you.
Tunga Viola.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Good job, Howard. All right. Starting round 14 here. We did talk about Brandon Ayuk already. Nick says he thinks he's going to have massive upside. Okay, we're all for that. I like it. Like the comments. Keep the comments coming. Makes our job easy as well. But again, we're almost at an hour, and we got through 13 rounds, heading down to round 14. And then, of course, people got to take tight ends and defenses, so that goes a little bit faster. Let me see if I can grab a little bit more. Again, 20 rounds. We're showing 14. Let me see if I can get one more down here. There we go. This is what we do at the live events, too. We keep moving the screen so it gets a little bit more runs on it, but the early rounds, we want them a little bit bigger so everybody can see. You can actually take the big sticker off if you're doing boards. There's a toggle up on the top there if you don't like seeing the big sticker all the time, but we always like that, seeing at the live events and seeing the big sticker coming on here. All right, so let's talk defense and kickers. When do they go, Billy? When does the first defense go? When do you take defenses? Anybody jump those at all, or do you just take them in 19 and 20?
It depends. Sometimes when you're in the 15th, 16th round, I'll tell you, I got Tampa and a couple of drafts in the 17th, and I'll do that. I'll do that all day long. But the 15th round, I think, is where the defenses start to go. You'll see the top defenses go there.
Yeah. How about you, Nelson? Any interest in earlier defenses?
Yeah, this is something that I've talked about in other live streams that I've done is just the fact that being a volume drafter, I found out through the years, I've always been big into streaming defenses, but I found that the amount of work on Wednesday nights, the money spent in fab, streaming defenses and picking them up. And then I was always trying to be like a week early on a defense and looking a week ahead and trying to store two defenses on my bench. I just found that spot to be more valuable for like a running back or something like that. So now I go and take, who I think is projected to be like a pretty good defense this year.
Mm-hmm. Okay. You are writing on ftnfantasy.com. Let's give a little plug there, what people can find there. You guys are doing a lot of live streams, which is fantastic, and it's all NFFC. So we're proud to be partnering with ftnfantasy.com with the NFFC Cutline Championship that has a $100,000 grand prize. But you guys are also streaming the Rotowire Online Championship like this one tonight. So talk a little bit of what people can find at ftnfantasy.com.
Yes, I will. I just got caught off guard here, so I'm on the clock at
no problem.
My other draft. So just Give me a second on that one.
Sure, we give you a forum for the plug. Spend your money with us here. And he says, no, wait,
No.
that's okay. No, it's great. Tom, we were in Milwaukee last night with Matthew Davis, who's on ftnfantasy.com. Matthew and Vlad are great. Chris Meany, I was on his podcast last week. I really like the Mean Streets. It's a very good podcast. Good fun, though, with Maddie last night, and Vlad's one of the best as well, right?
Yeah, no, we're very happy to be working with all these guys. They put out great contests. They've been doing season-long stuff with us in the NFBC all year. A lot of great contests with baseball, and we're certainly doing it in football as well. So yeah, like Greg said, we're really happy and excited to be working with those guys and in all of our contests. So looking forward to it, and check it all out. ftnfantasy.com. Certainly, even if you're not playing in high stakes, but we certainly hope you are with us. But even if you're not, check it out because it's a great way to win your leagues this year.
Yeah, we have
Nelson,
we have
you were doing great in baseball. How do you follow baseball when you're drafting so much football right now?
It's very difficult. I depend a lot on Vlad and Matty Davis.
Yeah.
They're the two pros at baseball over there. And I got back into it after taking a little break from baseball. And I found some success. So I'm actually enjoying it because when I've got good pitching and my pitchers are not getting racked and I don't have a 4.0 ERA, team ERA and a terrible whip that I have to repair. It makes things a lot more enjoyable during the season.
Yeah. Tom, we have to do more recruiting on Billy. He was signed up in 2020. He was coming to New York City, and we refunded his money because of that damn pandemic, and he kept that baseball money forever.
That's right.
It was a sign not to play because
no, that was not a sign.
That wasn't a sign. No,
I'm not. You know what? Here's what bothers me about baseball. And Nelson, maybe you haven't had this happen to you this year, and that's great. I remember I had Daseki Matsui one year, and he pitched in the first inning, and he let up like 9 earned runs, and his whip was like in the hundreds or something. And it took me like 2 months to even work my way back to where I was in the beginning. He destroyed it in like 1 inning. And I was like, football, you have a bad week, you move on. It resets the next week.
Yeah, that's the issues that I had, Billy, was the same thing. It just like turned me off where it was so devastating where, looking at your ERA and whip because, you had that pitcher just get destroyed. And then like your closer, maybe not an elite closer, and that's why elite closers go so early now in the NFBC drafts.
Mm-hmm.
But you have kind of like that middle tier closer, and he just blows like 2 saves in a row. It's just like you're like, what the heck, man? Like you go from like 2 potential saves on the board to 0, and your whip and ERA is destroyed, and you're dropping the bastard because the freaking coach is going to go with a different closer now.
Yeah, like you said, it helps if you have a good pitching staff and you don't have to always be picking up new pitchers because they're hurt all the time. It doesn't happen very much in baseball, though. Your pitchers are going to cause your life hell, that's for sure. All right, are you ready to give some advice on FTN Fantasy and why people should subscribe there?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we have a lot of talented guys there that do fantasy content. We have Jeff Ratcliffe, who was the #1 ranked for the rankings during the season, which was huge. So he's money when it comes to, helping you set your lineups and everything. And then for myself, I'm part of the high stakes package, but also there's a platinum package for $100 that you can get. And with a promo code, which I can offer, you get 20% off that. So with the platinum package, you're still getting my fade list. You're still getting my rankings. You're getting my targets, all my articles. You just don't, you're not having access to me on the Discord chat 24/7. That's where the high stakes package comes into play. That's $199 for the year. And what I can tell you is, of course I'm biased, but for the amount of time that I put in and, I'm answering questions, whether it's, 8 o'clock in the morning or, at midnight when guys have questions during draft season. during the season, setting lineups, making trades, free agent pickups. I'm helping with that. So I think that's a value in itself right there. But it is 199. I get it, but it's well worth it.
Yeah, you're on the clock too, just so you know.
Yeah.
Very good. Yes, ftnfantasy.com. Well, there you go. Jumped in on a defense. So, thoughts on the Colts defense there?
Yeah, I just think that they're one of the defenses that I have pegged as I think is going to be an elite defense. And, there's a couple of them, but that's just my feeling on it. I think that they're just going to be a really good defense. I also like the beginning of the year schedule. I like that, the division they play in also. So it's really that simple. I don't have much, I don't put that much thought into it. It's just more on paper. I look at it. I'm like, okay, they got a talented defense. Let's look at matchups to start the year. Yep. Makes sense. We're going to ride them.
Sounds good. Nothing to add there. Billy, is there any defense you've been targeting at all? Not to give away all your secrets or whatever, but anything like he's saying about the Colts?
Yeah, no, I'm with Nelson. I'm looking for a defense, generally a good defense that's, has a nice start to the schedule. The Colts are definitely one of them. Denver's another one. They have a nice start. They got a couple of nice games out of the gate. San Francisco, they're decent. You're not going to want to take a lousy defense just because they have a good matchup. The Saints are okay. There's certain defenses you compare that I think work well. Buffalo seems to always be the number one that goes off the board, which, I get it. It's a good defense, and it's a, they're going to be in a lot of positive game scripts. So the defense will be pinning their ears back and coming after the quarterback.
Yeah. They were also the number one defense for many weeks last year. I mean, I didn't realize that till I looked back, but they were the number one defense for a long time. It's hard to remember because they gave up so many points against the Chiefs in the playoffs and such. So, all right. Well, we're in round 16 here. I think we can wrap it up. People have stuck around for a long time to watch this, so we've had a nice little live stream here. Nelson, you first. Any thoughts on this draft and the drafting season so far that people could take away?
I think the biggest thing is that just team structure. I think there's so many different ways to build it. But that's the tricky part. I think that a lot of people, the mistake they make is they come in with like a set of rankings and they're just picking names. They're just picking player names, and they're not really paying attention to the actual structure of their team and knowing what their lineup settings are. And I think that's what ends up hurting them. So you all of a sudden you start the season and it's like, wait a minute, I need a flex. And it's like you're playing like a backup part-time running back in your flex because you only took 2 wide receivers in the beginning and you kind of push the rest back, and now you have guys that you are depending on that are not starting, to begin the year. That's where you can make the mistakes. And I think that's why you see like these type of wide receiver heavy drafts where, people will take the one running back and then they hammer a wide receiver, because with wide receiver, especially like the ones and number twos on an offense, they're playing full snaps. They're out there. They're going to be productive.
Yep, definitely. Billy, any final thoughts? And roster construction is definitely good advice. Like you say, people pick, that's the best player I think right now, or he's got great upside, but he's not even starting right now. So very good points. Billy, what do you got for us?
Pretty much same thing Nelson said. I mean, I think a lot of people go into these drafts and they just take the best player available, and they're not really concerned about the position. And like Nelson said, then they look down and you're in round 7 and they have 1 wide receiver or 2 wide receivers and they're in trouble to actually put a lineup together. And, it seems like a pretty easy concept to put a lineup together, but it's surprising. There's some people that have a hard time with it, and I think that makes the difference. But definitely, it's all about the wide receivers. You can just see it on the board. Just look at the color.
Yeah.
You can see the yellow going early, and that's just the way these drafts always go. And that's, because the NFFC, you have to start 3 receivers. You want to have 3 for sure that you can rely on. I mean, again, I'm not trying to pick on Team 8, but Team 8, I mean, I'm looking at it, and you have Marquise and the sticker just went above it. Sorry. Renfro, and then he's looking at Jalen Tolbert.
Yeah.
Jalen Tolbert has some upside, but I'm not sure I'd feel comfortable starting as my wide receiver 3.
Yeah.
in
And
week
that's
one.
a wide receiver 3, Billy. And never mind who you playing in the flex. You're going to count on Penny or Henderson in the flex.
Right.
Who knows?
Exactly.
Now you're digging down to Watson, Jacoby Myers as like your flex play.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And I mean, again, if your intentions were to get Lance in the 9th, which you can pretty much get, that's pretty much where he's going. In the 6th round, they should have went with probably another receiver there. That would have been the best thing to do. I mean, even Team 7, starting with the 3 and 1. And people argue, that our Andrews is going to be he's like a receiver, so he counts as that, but he's still a tight end, regardless any way you look at it. I mean, that team definitely is in a better position receiver-wise than 8 is, but even that one, it's tough to compete when you have the top receivers in the draft, when you have the Cups and the Chases and the Diggs and that. Those guys are putting up 280, 300 plus points every year. I mean, you got to keep up with those guys. So the receivers are important for sure.
Yep, definitely. Roster construction, everyone. Roster construction. Know that you got that flex that you need to be getting 14, 15 points every week from. So you can draft a lot of guys with upside, rookies with upside, but if they're not in the lineup, if they're not getting targets, if they're not getting touches, it doesn't add up on Sunday. And it doesn't add up for your team either. So tomorrow, I do believe Vlad is doing a live stream at 11:55 with Michael Govier, right, on ftnfantasy.com. So keep it on them. They like to do them on Fridays. Michael's joined FTN Fantasy, and he's hilarious on these. So tune into the live streams as well. Tom, we've been doing these once a week. You and Derek have been, I should say. We'll probably have one more next week, and then we're going to be off to Las Vegas and New York the following week, right?
Yep, absolutely. No, I can't add anything more than Nelson and Billy have said. Obviously, they're two of the best players in the industry. Billy, an NFFC Hall of Famer. So I'll just say, come on, sign up for our contest at playnffc.com. Our first prime time of the season is Saturday night. A few spots are still left. We got a few spots if you want to join us live the first weekend, September 2nd and 3rd in Vegas and New York. You can contact me or Greg for information about that, or again, just head on over to playnffc.com. Our contests start as low as $25. So whatever it is you want to sign up for, a draft, an auction, best ball, whatever, fab, we got it, playnffc.com.
Yep, and they're as high as $20,000, and Nelson is in that one, the Platinum League, the last one of the season in Las Vegas, and Nelson and David won that twice already, so he knows how to win the big private leagues as well. So, all right, well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Billy. Thank you, Nelson, for doing this with us. This was a lot of fun with 4 of us in the booth here. Howard, you did a great job as well, so thank you. No, good fun, and as you can see, these live streams are so easy right now, and a lot more people are doing them, but it's fun to watch, and I thank all of you for joining us tonight. So look for another one next week. Look for one tomorrow on ftnfantasy.com. Thanks, everyone, and have a great drafting season.